Fly me to the moon.
Celebrate the holidays with Friends of Santa Claus, Inc. at this year's Christmas Tree Lane events on Friday, November 30th and Saturday, December 1st. The Friday evening gala will dazzle you with dinner and dancing to the musical styles of Matt Mauser and the Sinatra Big Band. The Saturday luncheon will delight and surprise you with the always popular Macy's Fashion Show. Both events will feature silent and live auctions, fabulous boutiques, and beautifully decorated Christmas trees created by local designers. As always, the events support the tens of thousands of foster and low-income children served by Santa Claus Incorporated all year long. To get tickets or for more information, please visit www.friendsofsantaclausinc.com. That's www.friendsofsantaclausinc.com. That's www.friendsofsantaclausinc.com.
I love you.
This is KCAA.
From the NBC News Radio broadcasting studios of KCAA 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful sunny California. Thanks for tuning into the Water Zone. Hope everybody's having a great afternoon. This is Rob Starr, along with my good friend and partner here on the show, Mr. Chris Davies. And we have a special in-studio guest today who usually calls in, but we're glad she's here, the purveyor of Maven's Notebook. Is my mic working? Because I can't hear it in here. I guess I can hear it now.
Yep, I'm working. Yes. We're working.
Cool. Did you hear it before?
I couldn't. Now I do.
Oh. Yeah, now I hear everybody.
So we're good.
Oh,
so,
hopefully it went out over the air. It did? Okay, good. Yeah. He's giving me the thumb up, because if he didn't, he wouldn't have a thumb left. But why are you hiding your thumbs now? Nick's in the back doing that. So we're live and in color, so we're appreciative of tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, you just flew back from Texas.
I did, and my arms are tired.
I was just going to that.
But started out the day in El Paso, but it's great to be back in the studio and on the mic. It's been
was it raining there?
No, it was not. It was cold though. It was in the mid-40s as the high, so it was cool.
Did you have good food?
Well, I only went out to eat once with the crew down there, and we went to a very common place, just the common chain Italian restaurant. You know which one?
Wasn't a Roach Coach.
No, wasn't a Roach Coach.
You never know. Hey, you know what's
calories in, calories out. It's all good for me.
That's true. You know what's next week, don't we?
We do.
It's the irrigation show, the 2018 irrigation show, and it's an education conference, and it's going to be at Long Beach Arena from December 3rd through the 7th. Irrigation professionals will gather all over the world. They're coming to preview our latest products, not just us, but everybody else, technologies, innovations, and the show provides access to the most comprehensive education in the industry, as well as valuable, which is important, networking opportunities. I think most people come for the networking.
Yeah, they do.
Because we all know everybody else's things.
Sure.
Right? We already spied on our competition. They spied on us. We all know what we got. So we're just coming to talk to them and try to drag it, liquor them up and have them tell us what the things are. We don't
talk to your important customers. Talk to the...
we really don't liquor them up. I just want to clarify that.
No, but talk to them, specifiers, architects, everybody who has plays an instrumental part in the industry, and forge some new relationships, because there's always opportunities to do that. And of course, the learning is the big thing, right? Going around and seeing what other people have got, what's new, and just listen to them talk about it.
Yeah, anybody in agriculture, landscape, golf, sports, turf, nursery, floriculture, any of that, they're all welcome. And and you can even be a homeowner and come.
You can.
It's it's not too late to still register and come in. And if you know somebody if you go to a local distributor who you might buy from, like a Ewing or a Site One or any of those guys, you can ask for free pass. They'll give them to you.
That's right.
To come in. So it's a great event, and like I said, I think it's really important for people to do network. You talk to people who use the equipment. You talk to people who design the equipment, and it's really a great show. And they do it every year. So how many years? Since you were on some committees, how many years has this been going on?
Well, I've been on IA committees for 20 plus years. With I've been going to the IA show since the late '80s.
Wow.
So it's been around for a while. I just want to make one more note. Don't forget the up-and-comers in the industry, students, right, from schools and universities. A great opportunity for them to get a one-day all-in-one lesson on what's going on in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great thing. So that's going to happen. Anyway, we should get to the news. I know our wondrous and wandering guest drove all the way back up here from San Diego. Still has 100 miles to go home afterwards. but
in the rain.
I was just in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So what did you learn at the ACWA, which is the
Association of California Water Agencies
Correct.
conference. Yeah, they had their big conference in San Diego this last week, and today I sat in a really interesting session about voluntary agreements. We have issues up in the north on the rivers where the State Water Board is trying to update the water quality control plan, and they're proposing more flows in the rivers. And this is a very difficult thing because a lot of economies, meaning farmers and cities, have grown up taking a lot of water out of the rivers. And the State Water Board is trying to get them to leave more water in, but it's very controversial. And what they're really hoping to do is, instead of the State Water Board mandating what to do, they're trying to get all the people on those particular tributaries to come together and to make some agreements, make a voluntary settlement agreement. And we actually have had this happen in California before. The Bay Delta Accord in 1994 was one of the main ones. And the Yuba Accord happened about 10 years ago. Oh, I'm going to sneeze.
You're allowed.
So it does really happen. It's happened before, and when people come together and they make an agreement, you have better outcomes for the environment, and better outcomes for the people too. And you get some durable solutions. That your other people in the basin aren't going to object to. Everyone kind of comes and sits down and agrees on, a plan of action.
Is this like a real arbitration? Or it's a voluntary thing that...
Oh, it's voluntary. And they had Bruce Babbitt out, Bruce,
Right.
former Department of the Interior guy.
Yeah.
He actually negotiated the Bay Delta Accord. Now, he's been out here working with some of the interest on the San Joaquin River. The State Water Board was about ready to vote on the plan at last month's meeting, in the second week of November. And right after the election, actually on that night, Governor Brown and Governor-elect Newsom sent a letter to the State Water Board and said, give us another month. And we think we might be able to get a voluntary settlement agreement worked out. And the State Water Board, finally granted them. They were ready to vote that day, and they would have, I believe they were going to vote this plan in, but they agreed to give them 30 more days, and they said, we won't ask for another extension. This is it. So they did it. So that vote now is coming up on December 11th if there is no voluntary settlement agreement reached. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We do have a history of this, and, I really do believe when you get people to the table to agree on a solution, that's really the best way to go about it, because when one group wins, then it just gets litigated. It's
Always.
Is it fair to say historically that these mutual agreements, the voluntary agreements, have had more success in delaying legislation or law to make these things happen over time?
Yeah, well, it's the regulators and the regulateds. It's like it's better if those are people that are going to be regulated come up with their own plan and that they can present and get that through, because what's going to come out of the regulators, the State Water Board, is probably not going to be as
amenable?
Beneficial. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get sometimes.
So the process is come in, negotiate, give a little give and take, and do all of that. But then I would assume it has to go to the legal people to review, and then that gets extended. Because I thought you meant this versus that.
Well, they hammer out some pretty solid agreements usually, and then if the state water board accepts it, then that's usually what it is. It usually prevents litigation because you got to get everybody in the basin to be sitting at the table. If you leave someone out, then you can have, that's where they can get mad and they can decide they want to litigate.
Well, what happens if the two parties negotiate and they come to a verbal agreement? And they write it up and they submit it, and the state says, we don't like it.
Yeah, then
what happens?
Yeah, back to the drawing board for you, and
has
here comes
that
the
happened?
plan. No, they haven't submitted anything yet. And the people on the San Joaquin, I sat in a panel 6 months ago, and the guy that's representing the interest on the San Joaquin was like, there's no deal, no way, no how, we're not giving up a drop or litigate to the end. And so I don't know if we'll, if that's the guy that's got to be making the agreement. But people told me that it's a little bit different tune now. There's nothing that motivates people to get things done than a real hard deadline, right? So kind of wrapping it up, it's like, here you go. It's
There's a line in the sand.
Yes. So I guess we will see in just 10, 12 days.
Yeah.
What's going to happen. So.
Well, we hope that goes. So what else is new in the world of water?
Oh, they're really trying to get this drought contingency plan going for the Colorado River. Arizona is having some difficulty. They may not sign on to the agreement, and which would make it very hard to have an agreement. Here, just like we're talking about, here we have one person or one group on the outside. So, and then we're going to add to that, some farmers in the Imperial Valley are having a water rights battle, and they don't want Imperial Irrigation District to sign on to that drought contingency plan. Imperial Irrigation District gets the most water in California from the Colorado River, like 3.5 million acre feet, So they're kind of important for them to sign on, but now they don't want to sign on. And the judge in the court was saying, you guys better work this out, because otherwise there will be federal legislation that's probably going to come your way, and you're not going to like that.
They say that with a shaking finger, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was really trying to talk them into it. Yeah. So it's really tough because, shortage conditions are expected in the Colorado River as soon as 2020, maybe even 2019 if it goes really bad. So, and it's going to hurt. They're agreeing to take pain, but they're trying to make sure to leave some water in Lake Mead, because if it drops below a certain level, then there's no more hydropower generation, which is a real issue. Mm-hmm. So Metropolitan and other agencies have been leaving water in Lake Mead, and they're hoping that, there'll be some good years and they can get that water back, but there may not be any more good years, So it's not looking good for the Southwest. In the Colorado River.
Why would somebody be calling in the middle of the show? I don't know who it is, but we're not going to take that call. They want to call us, they can call us in on our phone lines here.
You should have answered. You should have answered. You just said, thank you, you're on the air.
Yeah, well, I don't know who it is. But if you do want to call in, it's 888-909-1050, or if you're local, 909-792-5222. I do not take calls during the show on my personal cell phone because I don't know who it is, and it's probably some scam. This is the IRS. There's 4 warrants out for your arrest. Have you?
Oh yeah. And then they want you to go and buy money orders at Walmart. They got my husband. He was really convinced, and I was like, honey, IRS will not ask you to go buy money orders at Walmart. Yeah. Trust me. Trust me.
I had one a week ago. Some guy calls, and he says, Grandpa? And I go, what? He says, Grandpa? I said, what? I said, who is this? Oh, this is your grandson. I said, really? I said, when I left home, he was only 9 years old. How did you get to be, you sound like a man. So I hung up on him. Anyway, back to you. I didn't mean to divert. But, they're talking about this El Nino again and what's going to happen. And
we currently have a rainstorm here in Southern California.
Yes. In fact, you can hear the thunder.
Thunder.
That was on cue,
Thunder.
too.
Right there. There's a thunderstorm going over us right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
So do we? I still want to know from Newsom, and here in California, what he's going to do about the water issue. He didn't do anything during the
election.
The elections. We tried to get him and Cox on
John
on
Cox
air.
on the air. Yeah.
And Newsom's people said, if you want to know about what we're doing, go to our website. That was it. So I feel bad that he's going to be our next governor, that he don't talk to us, but.
Well, yeah, he's got probably a lot of people, a lot of interest groups are parading in front of him. And yes, we're the water industry, many discussions about what he should be doing and, where he should be taking us. And but we don't really know what's going to happen.
In your purview, what do you think is going to be the most serious issue in water that we're going to have in the next year?
For our governor, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or for the state?
For the state.
I think it's going to be the Bay Delta Water Quality Control Plan right now, and then that would be followed by implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. I mean, groundwater management is going to be huge, and it's going to be painful. There's a lot of talk in the valley. Everyone's talking about groundwater recharge. That is what would replenish the aquifers. The problem is there's just not a lot of water sloshing around in the system. But they're trying to figure out all sorts of ways. They're working on flooding fields like grapes. Actually, they'll flood the field when the water is available and let it sink into the aquifer. And the grapes do really well. It does not bother them to be underwater. They produce as much the next year, without any detectable impacts to that. I think almond trees, there's a little bit different. You can't do it too much to almond trees, but they're doing all these testing on different crops to see, what works. You have to have the right geology under the right soils, and it has to be in the right place. There's not any field, but there's a lot of places out in the Central Valley where they can be sinking water into the ground, so they're working to do that.
You don't hear much about the almond growers anymore now that we say the drought is kind of over, because people remember they were screaming, why are we doing that, and all the money goes out to, but the money stays in California. The product gets shipped all over the world.
Not just the almonds. Now they're making almond milk and almond yogurt.
They're very good.
Any dairy product that you can buy can now be made with almonds.
I think 95% of the world's almonds are grown here in California, some amazing amount. And there's more almonds going in all the time. Almonds and grapevines.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder, I should go look, I wonder which is more, grapevine acreage or almond acreage. I bet you it's pretty close.
Right.
More almonds in every day.
Do you remember 20 years ago the commercial for Blue Diamond almonds was a can a week? That's all we want. And don't hear those anymore because
they've done an amazing job. And the almond farmers and the almond industry has really tried to be very water efficient, and they really took a lot of heat during the drought. And they've really tried to be. And I think almonds should not be demonized. Almonds are like a storable protein. You don't have to refrigerate it. They're, nuts. It's great. I don't know if we might be approaching critical mass on almond acreage in here. But
there's different ways to grow crops now. They have now, for years now, the vertical integration of growing crops, where you can take basically a warehouse and put the stuff in pipes that are 3 to 5 inches and grow them straight up. I hear a lot of representatives in our state talking about how the farmers are they're taking too much water, they're doing this. The state makes tons of money, and there's big business revenue for agriculture. Why would you want to get rid? They want to get rid of it. I don't understand that. I mean, we feed not only this state but most of the United States. Why would we want to get rid of that? And then where's it going to go? I
don't know. I think some people are to maybe the total acreage. But then there are even radical people that that would not want any irrigation in the Central Valley at all. But yeah, I hear that sometimes. But we need the Central Valley. That's one of the prime agricultural areas in the world, and we feed ourselves and a lot of other nations as well with food out of the Central Valley. So it's actually an amazing asset, a treasure in a sense, that we can grow and produce the food like we do.
Any feedback or insight you have from the recent romaine lettuce issue? There was a big issue here across the country.
Oh yeah, and then we went to the store to let's get regular lettuce, and there's no lettuce anywhere. So
they said the markings are showing from Central California.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure how it got in there, but they've really tried since they had the last scare a couple years ago. They've done a lot to try and separate things, and they actually took out a lot of these areas that sort of belts of trees and plants they would have in between their fields, because they felt that was bringing in animals and producing this, and it's
first they blamed it on the workers. Do you remember? Do you remember that a couple of years ago? They were blaming on.
Yeah, that wasn't this time. Yeah.
No. And now they're saying it's from the cows and the things where the water transfers over, and that's shocking, though.
Yeah, there's so much agriculture side by side in all these different places, and our food supply, the safety of our food supply is really important. And I mean, that's also something that to keep in mind. We have these issues happen here and we track them down, but if we don't know what are going on in other countries when they're growing their how they grow their food, and it can come looking fine, it could be laced with all kinds of things, so we just don't know. That's why I like to see our food being grown here in the United States, and and in California, because I love that vegetable department.
Are you big on vegetable platters for parties?
Well, sure, vegetables.
My wife does it. I hate that. We have to have a vegetable plate. Go to the store and buy the vegetable. No, we don't. No, I don't. Meat. I want
salami.
Meat. Yeah, cheese. I don't. Every party we have, you have to have a tray with carrots and celery and olives and.
Yeah.
It just
that everybody looks at it and says, "Oh, how pretty."
Yeah. No, my wife and kids eat them, but I'm not into that. So.
Oh yeah, vegetables. Yeah. I like my vegetables.
Yeah. I like V8 juice.
My favorite vegetable is artichokes.
Oh yeah, they are delicious.
Oh yes, and we grow those up in Castroville in the Watsonville area. I think it's one of the only areas in the United States where we grow them. You can buy artichoke plants here in nurseries, but and we've done that in Santa Clarita, and we plant them. But when it gets hot, they lie down flat on the ground. Yeah. Like you go out and you're like, oh my God, it's dead. And then like it cools off and comes right back up. And you like nothing ever happened. And you're like, wait a minute, did I not see you lying on the ground and now you're not? But they don't produce anything. No. They get super stressed by that.
What gets me is if you're, I'm sure you have gone to a really nice restaurant sometimes in your lives, right? And they serve the artichoke, the baked dark. Right, and so they have the butter, the drawn butter, but you're in a really fancy restaurant with the guys with the tuxedo, and you see the guy at the next table picking the blade off and going, suck it off, and it's just I don't know, it just doesn't seem. I like artichoke, dip. But when you're sitting there pulling the stuff out at the restaurant,
man.
How else do you eat it though?
I know, but it's just funny when you're at a really nice upper scale restaurant. You see these guys going away with that. Anyway, well, we got to take a little break, and we got our next guest hanging on.
That was awesome to have you here, Chris.
Yes.
Hey,
to be in studio.
Yeah, we love it.
Cool.
And everybody gets to see you now.
Yes.
So give them a wave. We'll be back in a minute. Stick around for the second half of the Water Zone, and we'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
If you knew there was a pipe cement that works better than the one you're currently using, is better for you and the environment, and costs the same or less, would you buy it? Well, no-brainer, right? Weldon, the trusted leader in solvent cements for over 60 years, is pleased to introduce a new line of solvent cements that does all that. Introducing the Eco Series line of solvent cements for PVC piping systems. Not only does it work great and set fast, it also has 30% lower solvent emissions and less smelly fumes, a better workplace environment when you're installing pipes. But don't just take our word for it. Eco Series products are the only solvent cements that are Green Seal certified for environmental innovation for effective performance, improved working conditions, and for use with potable water. Now available in a medium-bodied fast-setting blue formula 905 Eco and a regular-bodied fast-setting clear formula 900 Eco. Pick up a can today from your local distributor and see, smell, and feel the difference, just like Joe Sweat, president of Sunrise Irrigation, did. He said, after using Weldon's 905 Eco, we immediately noticed the application was smooth and there was noticeably less odor than other blue solvent cements on the market. The guys love it. To learn more about Eco Solvent Cements from Weldon, visit the website at www.weldon.com or call the Technical Service Hotline at 877-477-8327. That's 877-477-8327.
Time to take a water break and talk some water. Irrigation. Such a refreshing topic. As more and more markets face water restrictions, your customers may be hungry, or should I say thirsty, for water-saving products. For new installations, add options like drip irrigation, controllers that respond to weather data, pressure-regulating heads, or heads with check valves. They all provide easy ways to differentiate your bids and win more jobs. Or for an extra stream of revenue, offer existing customers upgrades like high-efficiency nozzles, rotary nozzles, or Wi-Fi-based controllers. Because when you help your customers save water, you make a world of difference for the earth and your bottom line at the same time. We'll drink to that.
Welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone. It was great having Chris Austin here.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love her on the radio when she calls in, but it's great to have her sitting here.
Yep, rarely have her in the studio, so it was great to have that chat and see her. We see her at events and yes. Trade shows and conferences, but to have her in studio was awesome. All right, so why don't you cue up our next guest for us, Rob?
Absolutely. We have a gentleman who's 3,000 miles from here. And he's actually from back east, and his name is Peter Olstein, and he's with a company called Enelgas, and he has a product called Water Security System, and we're going to learn all about some new technology from him. And so, Peter, welcome to the show.
Chris and Rob, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Very excited. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Just for clarification, you and I met at the Southern Nevada Water Symposium in October. And that's the only relationship we have. And everybody has to be politically correct, so I have to say that. And yes, I've been out to dinner.
Clear the deck first.
And I've been out to dinner with Chris, and he's been to my house, and I've been. Do you notice on all the news stations they always do that now? They have a lawyer that comes on. Oh yeah, he handled some business for me. It's like everybody's got a.
It's a disclaimer.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But anyway. Tell us a little about, first of all, the name of the company. I mean, and trying to relate that to the product with the water security system. And how did that start? How did it all go together? And give us a little bit about who Enelgas is.
Sure. Enelgas USA is the United States branch of Enelgas Bonomi. Mm-hmm. And we've been very successful in the HVAC industry. We manufacture and distribute control valves. Several years ago, we were assessing the need, and we found a very specific need for flood prevention, and noted that there was a need for water efficiencies, especially within the households throughout the United States and businesses and so on. So we took all of the technology that we had with our valves, and we integrated to create a water security system, which is essentially for potable water. And I can tell you a little bit more about that if you like as well.
Sure. And so then you guys developed, or they developed what's called this water security system. And it does a couple different things. I guess it has a sensor, a shut-off valve, and some other things that go with it, and software and all of that.
Yeah, well, there are several different options that we offer, but essentially what it does is there is an automated ball valve that's attached to the domestic water supply in a home or a big building, and it's measuring the flow of water into the individual home or into the individual apartment or into the individual office. And it's measuring all of the consumption that's coming in. And what's unique about that, it can detect, as it's measuring it, leaks, pipe ruptures. It sends notification to the smartphone, and then it will automatically shut off the water supply. So the individual does not have to be engaged. The system will do everything. It's a smart system.
So does it learn by a signature analysis to determine how much the water is used normally? So it gets a baseline and then reacts upon that?
Yeah, it has an algorithm built into the valve, so it is basically watching the patterns and learning based on the usage. But when we install it, we set preferences that there should be a certain number of gallons for a certain number of minutes for each one of the appliances in a home, depending on the number of people that live there, and the preferences are set high enough that it does not disturb normal usage. It's just set where it will detect significant abnormalities, which are indications of a pipe bursting or a leak or things of that nature.
Now, I would assume this has sensors with it, and can you remotely control by turning it off and overriding the system?
Yeah, so the system, we've got basically three different versions of the system. The first version of the system is the flow-based system, which measures the flow of water into an individual apartment or home. And then there are wireless sensors that come with it as well that add some extra protection. The second version of it is a sensor-based system, which is where we have a shutoff valve. It's no longer measuring the flow, but we have wireless sensors that are placed on the ground in various positions throughout a home. When water comes in contact with the sensor, it provides notification to the valve to shut, and then provides notification on the smartphone to the homeowner that there's a leak, the valve has been shut, and it makes them aware of it. The homeowner from the phone can open and shut the valve from anywhere in the world.
Oh.
Through an app, then, I'm assuming, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Exactly. They would download, we have a water security system app that's downloaded to the cell phone, and they can control that from wherever they are.
So you can control this anywhere in the world. You have the wireless moisture sensors, so they can be placed by, I guess, toilets, water heaters, refrigerators. I know I had a couple of years ago. We had the line coming to the what do you call it? The ice machine, and that broke, and it just leaked all over the parquet floor at the time and ruined the whole thing. So it didn't shut off until my wife got home and didn't know about it.
Yeah, it's a common problem, and especially in high-rise apartments, work is being done, the person above you, the line is clipped, and then the water just starts flowing all the way down, and without some type of protection in place, you either have a massive flood or a minor flood.
All right.
So with a system like this, in your case, there's also, we have a version of it that attaches to an individual appliance, like it could be a washing machine, or it could be a dishwasher, it could be, any of the individual appliances where there's a wired sensor right below the, let's say, the refrigerator. The moment that the water comes in contact with the sensor, it would shut off the water supply, but also provide notification right away to let you know that there's a problem.
All right. So maybe a good place to start, if I can ask this question, right, before we start to talk about some of the benefits, like the water conservation benefits, the benefits to insurance and things like that. Maybe a good place to start would be to talk a little bit about the base products that make up the product offering. Can you do that for us?
Of course. So basically, the base the equipment that comes with it is we have an automatic shutoff valve. Okay, that has a water meter attached to it. We also have the individual wireless sensors that also come in a wired component. We have the cell phone app that attaches, that is downloaded to the cell phone. For a high-rise residential building or an office building, we have a property manager dashboard that has every unit in the building on one app. on the property manager's dashboard where they can monitor the entire building.
Mm-hmm.
And communication is sent where it will differentiate between a leak and a drip. So if there's a drip, something is beginning, it's not a flood, there's not a massive problem, the system will send you, in essence, a drip warning, and then it will continue to monitor what's happening. Some of the other components that make up the system is we have the cloud where we store all of the data, and the valve itself has an algorithm built in that is communicating via Wi-Fi or some other type of technology network, whatever's in the home, to communicate the signals back and forth.
Are most of these systems bought pre-building, meaning as the home is being or the facility is being built, or I'm sure you can probably put them in afterwards, but is it hard? Yeah. But is it a lot harder to do that? And would you recommend the wired version of that?
I think it's better to put it in before the home is built. The wireless is fine. The only time that we use the wired is when we're using the point-of-use shutoff for an individual appliance. But when you're using the whole house monitoring system, the wireless sensors work perfectly.
Okay.
A lot of times people are putting them in after because they've had a leak, they've had a little bit of a flood, they've had a problem, and they need some type of assurance, or they go away quite a bit, and they want to be able to monitor their home while they're elsewhere. And it provides all of those functions so that they can be really aware of what's everything that's happening.
So, since it measures all of this, could this be almost like a secondary sub-meter system?
Well, in essence, it's basically giving the real-time gallons per minute of consumption.
Right.
So it's not only measuring how much it is, but if you wanted to be able to sub-meter and generate a monthly bill to individual tenants, it does all of that by the touch of a button.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. It's just you're pushing a button, everything's ready to go. So if you have like either a high-rise building or you have some tenants in a multi-family home, at the touch of a button, it can generate the bills, and you can give it to them, and you know exactly how much is being used. You can also monitor consumption if you want to reduce the amount of water that's being used. It does all of that. One of the unique features that's really special, and I haven't seen many out there that do this, is it will capture the water, the wasted water that is, they call it an anonymous, but basically if there's a pipe leaking behind the wall, if there's a leaky toilet flap, it will capture all of that because it's monitoring the flow, and it will give you notification that there's an issue. And by fixing those things, you see significant reductions in the amount of water that you're using and the amount that you spend on your bill monthly.
Yeah, so for an individual homeowner, I mean, it can even act as as both a confirmation and a way to compare what the agency is sending you as a bill, right? What the
correct
utility is providing for you.
Exactly.
But you can actually now look at it in real time.
You can see it in real time. You can look at it against the actual bill, and then it gives you, metaphorically speaking, bulletproof protection. You have that system in your home. You're confident that if something happens, you're protected, and you'll be notified about it.
The wireless portion, if you can talk about that for a little bit, is it
Sure.
run on a Wi-Fi frequency, or is it a different, in the gigahertz range?
Yeah.
Generally, we use a multitude of networks, but for the most part, it'll run right off the home Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a high-rise building, which is a lot of what happens here in Florida, where I am, 3,000 miles away,
Yep.
we have different challenges when you have very thick cement and so on.
Right.
And we're able to use a mesh network and different types of frequencies, and if we have to, we'll even lay a cable throughout the building to ensure that the system is communicating. Now, the beautiful thing is that the communication is only required for you to get notification. So let's say you have a power outage, there's a hurricane, something happens where there's no Wi-Fi, the valve is still going to automatically shut if there's a leak.
Right, right.
The only thing that won't happen if there's no Wi-Fi is you won't get notification.
Right.
But rest assured, you are protected.
So that should help on insurance policies for a lot of people.
Yeah. Whether it's a high-rise building, an individual homeowner, there are reductions for having a system in that has an automatic shutoff, and it's on a case-by-case basis.
So we've seen, several other products that are available in the United States, right? For similar type of thing. What makes yours unique? What are some differences that you might be able to tell our listeners that make yours stand out?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that makes us unique is we have a complete system. So we have the notification by text and email. We have the automatic shut-off valve. We have several different applications, whether it's the one that's monitoring the flow, if it's just a sensor-based, or there's the point of use, which is for the individual appliance. And then we also have one for the office building, which has one app with a central database to see everything that's going on within the building. I think another factor is that we are a valve manufacturer by design. We've been making valves. We manufacture in Italy. Now we're manufacturing in the United States. We've been doing this a very, very long time in the HVAC business, so we know valves. Everything is made by us. We don't go anywhere else. So we have a very high quality of product. And by introducing this system, we've integrated the smart technology so that we've been able to utilize the great valve technology with the smart system to really protect a home or a building against water damage. So all of our products are proven, and they're high quality as we have a lot of experience in this arena.
Yeah, now you started this back in, at least this division, if I want to call it that, back in 2007, I believe. Is that correct?
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
And I also noticed I happen to have a brochure here. It says you have a motion sensor. So is that like I'll call it a security system? I guess that's the best term for it.
Yeah.
Like an alarm system. Somebody walks in your house and the signal will detect a person or a dog or a.
It's essentially the motion moisture sensor is what's going to be detecting when water comes onto the floor.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, most people think for a water security system, right, the worst thing, and they envision, the couch floating in the middle of the living room kind of thing, right? Or all your stuff downstairs, and boxes floating around.
Well, that happens. I'm sure Florida had their share of it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I saw a thing yesterday on television about the sinkholes. I guess they call it Sinkhole Alley.
Yeah.
Down in Tampa, around there,
Yeah.
and some other cities. That's got to be horrendous for
happening quite a bit.
Ugh.
And there's no warning.
No, that's a scary thing. So when they buy these systems, where do they find them? Do they go to you guys directly, or do you sell through distribution, or how does that work, or contractors?
They would buy it directly from us. They could either contact me, they can go to our website, they can send me an email, whatever the case may be, but they would buy it directly from us, and then we would arrange for the installation to take place. So the installation is twofold. One, you're a plumber that's licensed and has all the credentials has to do the installation, and then the other part is the technology part needs to be set up. There's an app that walks people through it, but we do all of that for everybody to make it really simple. The system is turnkey.
Is the contractors, do they have to be certified by your company that they know the product and they know how to do it? And I mean, we find in the landscape for us, for irrigation controllers and other things, a lot of the problems are people not knowing how to adjust your equipment and set it up and program it. And we find a lot of problems with that. So I didn't know if you have to go through a certification process with certain contractors before they can install your product.
No, because the part that they're installing is essentially the valve, which is simple for a plumber to install, but we certainly would connect with them to make sure that they're aware of what would need to be done as far as the installation. The more technical part is the technology, which is what we do firsthand.
So say I put a system in my house, and the plumber comes and does the thing, but he's not really into computers and Wi-Fi. Then what?
We would come in and we would make sure that the system is set up on the technology end. In other words, how many bathrooms, how many people are living in the home. We would make sure that everything is communicating. Our people would take care of that. So
do you have like an 800 call-in number if you have a problem?
They can call us directly in our offices.
Okay. Is that 24/7 or daytime or?
Daytime hours, and then if something happened after hours, you could contact our office as well. We would get back to you the next day.
Okay. What kind of warranty do you offer with these products?
That's a great question. We have an 8-year warranty on the entire system.
Wow.
It's not predicated on what's stamped on a box. When it's installed, it's an 8-year warranty. And that's very unique because most of the time, a lot of times you'll see there's a warranty. I don't know anybody else that has 8 years, and a lot of times there are a lot of conditions with it. Ours is very simple. You put the product in, system is installed, you have an 8-year warranty. Anything goes wrong, we'll take care of it. All of the upgrades of software that will happen are provided at no charge.
All right. There's a lot that's happened in this segment of the industry over the past 10 years. I mean, I remember in my own home 20 years ago or so buying, the simple thread-on half-inch by half-inch, that you connect to your toilet tank intake, and it was essentially just a flow shutoff that when it registered a high flow, it was set so that if it was a regular flush, it would do that. It knew that, and it would last a certain time. But if it was longer than that, and there was a high flow situation detected by the unit, it would automatically shut. But there's, back then there was no way of telling you that, right? You didn't know unless you went in the toilet and flushed it and there was no water in there, and you go, oh, what's going on? So you had to look.
And you hope that it worked properly.
Right, and you hope that it worked. So really a lot's happened since then. So
especially if you're a guest at somebody's house.
But I mean, after you're gone, if there's something happens in the supply tube from the wall up to your toilet tank, right? It breaks on the downstream side, then the flow stop would detect that. I mean, I had those in for probably 10 or 12 years before we got a newer system put in. But I was just saying that just to note how far the industry's come since then, Peter.
Absolutely. Everything is becoming, with sensors and with technology, have Nest AC thermostats, and now you have the system that we have, and everything is accelerating at such a rapid rate from a technology standpoint, 100%.
Yeah, so how long in a typical house, let's just say a 3 or 4 bedroom house, how long does it take to do the installation if the house is already built versus, when it's brand new and they're building it? That's one thing because you can get to everything faster. But what does a typical time take to do this?
The installation is essentially very simple. It takes about 20 minutes. And remember that there's just one shutoff valve for the most part that's going to be put on the main supply to the home. And then it's a question of where you want to put sensors throughout the home. And then it's just a question of making sure that everything is communicating. But it's about 20 minutes.
Right.
Oh, that's quick.
When you get into high-rise buildings, it gets a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So a single-family home is the simplest application.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you find in your type of business, we have both professionals and DIY people who listen to the show, do you find, is your product geared more towards the homeowner itself, or do you go for the builders, for developers?
Well, it's really, we build them, the system is customized for the application, and it really is for everybody. A lot of my time, personally, is I meet with a lot of the property managers for buildings that are already up, and then I'm also meeting with a lot of the developers to put it in before or as they're building the building so that it's built in. Obviously, if you're going to spend a couple $1 million on a unit, you want to have some type of protection. But it's equally applicable to every type of market, every customer.
So how much do these kind of things cost? If you, again, let's start with we can't talk about a condominium or multifamily because we don't know what that's going to be. Let's go back to a 3 or 4 bedroom house,
standard ranch style tract home kind of thing, right?
No, that's perfect. So you're most likely going to have one source of water coming into the home,
right?
So for each one of the automated flow-based single-point water shutoff, which means it's the valve and it has the water meter attached to it, and you get 3 wireless sensors. It's $799.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an additional cost for installation, if it's very involved, otherwise it's $799. So I would believe that a lot of these installations are very simple, but it would be $799.
So that's both installation and product, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Wow,
correct.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, for what you get, it's a really, really great value. When you go down one tier where you're not measuring the flow and you just want to have a sensor-based shutoff, That one runs $6.99, so you get the valve without the water meter with 3 sensors, and then if you go the route where you want something just for an appliance, you would get the appliance-based shutoff. It's $4.99, and they all come with the app on the phone and the communication and the full system.
Can you, it was as we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left here. So I didn't want to let the conversation get away without talking about water conservation, because it's part of some of the documentation that we've read and provided to us. So other than a catastrophic event, right, the flood prevention and something happening catastrophically in your home. Is there something you can tell us that how a water security system can actually aid with water conservation if it's while it doesn't use its main function, which is not just leak detection but saving a flood, just ongoing day to day when nothing happens, everything acting normally? Is there any water conservation positives that are available from that?
A great question. So the system gains access for all the consumption of water, and where basically it's learning how our habits affect the monthly water bill, and that we have the ability, by understanding how our habits are affecting the monthly water bill, that we can improve our behavior with simple corrective actions like shutting off the faucet when we brush our teeth, and having more access to the impact that different actions are having on the water bill as far as usage. The other thing that it does is it will detect things that are undetectable, which also make a difference in the water consumption throughout a home. But it's real-time access. In other words, you turn the handle on the faucet in the bedroom, in your bathroom or your sink, and immediately you see the gauge moving on the app, and it's measuring real-time consumption. So you really become much more attuned to how much you're using, and you're much more proactive in being able to reduce the amount of water being used.
But that's only if you have the sensor on the faucet portion.
No, if you elect the single point version,
right,
which means it has the water meter measuring every ounce of water coming into the home,
right,
then it's going to be able to tell you which place is using how much water through each area throughout the home, where you can monitor the consumption.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I see. Yeah.
Can your customers access a cloud to get that data back?
Yes. They can not only access the cloud for all of the stored data, it'll also show on their phone the actual consumption, real-time consumption.
Is there a fee to use the cloud?
No.
That's taken care of by your company. You monitor.
That's something that we provide at no charge.
Yeah, so it's not a subscription type fee base.
No, basically you get access to the cloud, you get this amazing technology, you get the upgrades that are provided at no charge. We put an 8-year warranty behind it. We want to make it an amazing experience for the consumer, and we want to put controls in their hands so they can monitor their water, reduce the amount of water, and then have the other aspect of it, which is protection if something happens. As
a homeowner, can the homeowner expect any sort of reduction in their homeowner's insurance?
There should be. You would need to speak individually to the homeowner's insurance company, but yes, they should offer some type of a discount.
So aside from the security system, you guys say you make valves and stuff. When did the original version company start?
For the water security system?
No. The whole Enelgas.
Oh, Enelgas USA started in the 50s. Company is located in northern Italy and was making basically valves for plumbing and HVAC and gas, everything manufactured on one roof.
Right.
Been doing that, and then developed the water security system about 10 years ago, and then the latest version is what we're talking about today, is the latest evolution of all the new technology and all of that other stuff, but since the 50s.
So when somebody decides to buy this thing, the system, is it a one-time payment, or do you have options for them to buy this system? Meaning, do you let them buy it on credit and you bill them every month, or they have to pay?
basically 3 different options. They can buy with a credit card, or they can do leasing, and then we have financing available.
All right, awesome. So can you talked about those phone numbers. Can you give us those phone numbers real quick and give us your website?
Website, yeah.
Absolutely. So our website is www.watersecurity.com.
All one word, right? Yeah.
Right. The number to our company, 855-366-5427. I'm going to give you 2 more.
Okay, no problem.
To contact me, and I can help you with anything you need, it's sales, S-A-L-E-S, at enolgasusa.com, ENOLGAS, USA.com, or 954-687-5252.
Excellent. You know, when I met you at the other show, I briefly, took your catalog and stuff. It was real interesting to us, and we thought this would be a great thing for our listeners to listen to and hear about, because we're all in the world to save water.
All right,
absolutely.
We appreciate it. So thanks for joining us on the Water Zone. We'll be back next week live from the Irrigation Show in Long Beach. Yep. And remember, the most important thing that we all have to do: think blue. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for coming on, Peter.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
California headline news. Southern California residents who live near recent burn areas are being told to seek safety elsewhere. The rain's threatening mud and debris flows in areas where residents were told to be on alert earlier this week.
This is a time you should have been prepared and leave and made arrangements to evacuate at a place where you can stay. And then we went into the mandatory. Now it's time. You should go now.
Cal Fire Captain Fernando Herrera in Riverside County. The rain's continuing to fall in the northern portion of the state. Standing water blamed for a roof collapse at a commercial building in Oakland. No one was hurt. Congressman Adam Schiff, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, reacting to news that Michael Cohen, the president's former personal lawyer,